very much for joining us again on Maga Woman TV. I am so grateful that Caitlin Grace has come along and she's going to chat to us today. Now, she has written an article in the February issue of Maga Woman magazine, and I wanted to talk a little bit more about this because this is a subject that no one talks about, but so many of us have an issue with. And we're going to be talking about the pelvic floor and how, what happens to women. We have babies, and then, but as we get older, things start to change as well. And we need to be aware of what's happening because otherwise it can be a little bit uncomfortable as we get older, and we don't really want to be like that because there's so many things we can do which can help us strengthen our pelvic floor. And I've got so many questions for Caitlin because this is me. I've got so many questions. So I'm going to ask all the questions on behalf of you, okay? I reckon I'm going to cover it all. So thanks for joining us, Caitlin.
Thank you for having me here. And yes, there is so much information that we don't have when it comes to our pelvic floor. And I'd just like to correct you on one little thing. We all seem to think that looking after our pelvic floor has to happen when we're older. And actually, there's a lot of young women who are having just as many issues with their pelvic floor right at the moment. Yeah. So it's not an old lady disease or an old lady issue. It's just an issue for women.
Yeah, it is. And I think that it's something that doesn't get spoken about because I know that when I had my second child, and I gave birth naturally twice, but my babies were quite large babies. Well, not overly large. One was 8.5 pounds and the second one was nearly 10. So I had a prolapse, and no one talked about what happens when you have a prolapse. And I actually, because afterwards I kind of really didn't know what was happening. I just knew that everything was not the way it was supposed to be. And I went to the doctor and they said, oh yeah, it looks like you've had a prolapse. You haven't really been doing your pelvic floor exercises properly. So that's what's going to happen. And if you don't go and do your pelvic floor exercises now, what we're going to do is we're going to get a tube and we're going to stick it in you so that it all holds together. And I'm going, right, that's not what I want to do. Yeah. So off I went and did what I thought were my pelvic floor exercises. Now, one of the things is with pelvic floor exercises, you don't know if you're doing it right or if you're doing it wrong because you don't know what everyone else feels.
That is exactly right. That is exactly right. And the simple fact of the matter is that most of us are actually doing our pelvic floor or our Kegels, we're doing them wrong. And that's because nobody has actually showed us how to do them correctly. Nobody has given us that information, and the only way for somebody to do that is for them to actually put their fingers inside your vagina as you are doing a Kegel and saying, no, that's not quite right, try this. One of the big things is, and we can sit here and do our Kegels right now, I want you to start thinking of doing a Kegel while keeping your thighs and your buttocks relaxed, your stomach relaxed, and breathing normally. So keep everything else normal and just focus on your pelvic floor. And when you breathe in, you lift it up 1, 2, 3 levels, and then you just slowly relax, okay? And it's doing that work, shoulders down, breathing normally, thighs and buttocks not clenched, because that's the thing. We think we have to tense everything, but it's just the pelvic floor that we need to lift. The other thing that we need to do is actually start. So that was the elevator, lifting the floor up, but you've also got muscles on either side. Yes. So it's closing the doors. So closing on the left side, closing on the right side. And the chances are that one side will be stronger than the other. The right side is generally the masculine side and the left side is our feminine side. So it's that dynamic as well. There's more than just lifting. There's also all the other surrounding muscles.
And I discovered that once I finally went to a pelvic floor physio, because yes, the only way, because I was having so many problems and then it was starting to affect my back, it was affecting all the other, like my hip, all of it. There's a whole pile of stuff that was going on because I didn't know how to use my pelvic floor properly. And when I'd go to the gym, I was bearing down rather than lifting up. And, you know, and then you have all the bladder leakage, all of that. And then when I finally went, okay, I need to do something about this, I go to a physio, and she did that. She put, first off, she did an ultrasound, then she inserted her fingers, and I actually found that I was not even activating the left side of my the pelvic wall at all. It just wasn't. It wasn't there. So the right side would move slightly. The left side is like, and for me, that was my feminine, and that was when I was going through lots of issues. I have issues on my right side with my hip. All of this stuff is like this transition and this trying to reconnect with my feminine because I was so masculine in everything I did. But even now I'm finding I need to redo some of that stuff again because I've lost some of it.
It's something that we have to do constantly. So it's not right, I've got my pelvic floor toned, I don't have to ever worry about it anymore. We need to be doing it, have constant vigilance. And the thing that amazed me, I went to a hormone health seminar last year with a guy called Ben Warren here in New Zealand, and he said something that just kind of made me sit up and take notice. And he said the modern world is not geared for female hormones.
No.
It's not geared to support women in any way, shape or form. And that's where, when we come to do our pelvic floor work, we will tend to be stronger in our masculine than we are in our feminine. We've actually lost connection with our feminine selves. I run a 5-day Fabulously Feminine challenge periodically, and a lot of the women struggle with the word feminine. They don't actually know what being feminine means. They think it means having long flowing hair and wearing pretty dresses, but there's a lot more to femininity than just how we look or how we show up in the world. Being feminine is about our sense of stillness. So when you tune into your pelvic bowl, and I'll get you again to do just another little exercise that I teach women quite often, which is put your thumbs together on your belly button and your fingers, your index fingers, in a downward facing triangle. If you do that on your stomach, thumbs on your belly button, fingers pointing down, that space is your womb space. Most of us have no idea where our womb actually is located. We know when we get pregnant that our bellies get big, but we have no idea where our womb is actually located. So just connecting into that space and breathing down into your womb, you'll start to feel a warmth, or you'll get a sense of light, or you'll get a sense of an energy. It can show up in different ways for different women, but just that simple thing of breathing into our womb space helps us connect back to our center. And our center, our pelvic bowl, is one of stillness. Women operate best from stillness. We operate best from being receptive. We are receivers. We receive the sperm to make the baby grow, and we have to open and soften in order to do that. And we can't open and soften unless we are feeling safe and secure. We've got that sense that anything that is coming towards us, any male that is coming towards us, is a safe space for us to invite into our body. And a lot of women, I hear this a lot in my work, and it makes me really sad, and sometimes I cry. The amount of women who are actually experiencing pain during sex, or who are gritting their teeth in their sexual experiences, and it's like, pain, sex is not supposed to equal pain. We're supposed to feel open and receptive and loving and well lubricated before anything comes in. But if we don't give ourselves that time, if we're not tuned into our body, we don't know how to do that. And we just kind of go, oh, well, he's ready, I must be ready, off we go. So it's about taking the time to actually tune in and connect with yourself, really.
So can I just ask a question? Just as we're talking about connecting into our womb, what happens with women who've had hysterectomies?
On an energetic level, they still have the womb space. Men have a womb space. In martial arts, it's called the lower dantian or the hara. So that is still that energetic space behind the belly button, where that's the power center. That's when in karate they go, and do the hi-ya and chop the boards. They're coming from that power center, which is the hara. But in women, we've actually got that physical aspect to it as well with the uterus. But even after the uterus is removed in the case of hysterectomy, the energy space is still there. Okay, so you still have the energetic womb. That's never going to be taken
then
away.
I'm assuming that for many women, though, there would be an emotional block in actually, for some women, actually connecting to that for whatever reason why it was removed, because it's not supposed to be removed, it's supposed to stay there. But for various reasons, sometimes it does have to be removed. And sometimes the removal of the uterus is actually out of the control of the woman. For me, I see that many doctors recommend removing the uterus as a solution to lots of things. Once you've had children, well, let's just remove your uterus, you don't need it anymore. And when we could actually be addressing it with whatever the issue is, we can be addressing some of that stuff with other treatments, naturally, things as well. So, I think that there's a lot of emotional stuff that's going to be going on too, that, because it's we see that as our womanhood, that's our belief system. So connecting back to there would be difficult for these women. I mean, it's difficult for women who still have a uterus quite often.
Oh, absolutely. The big thing that I see is the disconnection with women from the lower half of their body. They are disconnected in that they can't name their genitals. They recoil at the word vagina. They might feel comfortable with the word pussy, but they don't really want to talk about it. It's just a lot of women refer to it as down there or their lady bits. I listened to a webinar the other day where they were giving herbal remedies to help with down there, and that was what it was titled. And there was 2 grown women, and the whole length of that hour-long webinar, they only ever referred to it as down there or your lady bits, not vagina, not genitals, not anything. And if we can't name it, we can't claim it as our own. We can't take ownership of it. I've got a friend at the moment who is actually being bullied by her doctors to have a hysterectomy. I have another friend who had a tumour quite a few years ago, and she now looks back and realises that she was actually bullied into having a hysterectomy, that was the only option.
I had the same thing when I had benign growths within my uterus. They just said, well, all we do is we give you a hysterectomy. And I said, yeah, but I still want to have children. They said, okay, well, we've got other ways. If you want to have children where you can do that, that we can actually treat it. And I felt like saying, well, you can treat this because I tell you I want to still have children, but when you didn't know I wanted to have children, you were just going to remove the part. It's like, why couldn't you have treated? Because they just went in and they lasered it off, and it was all okay, and I managed to deliver 2 children. Naturally, there was a little bit of a risk that I could have ruptured the uterus, but they kept an eye on that. But the first option they gave me was, well, we're going to give you a hysterectomy. I couldn't understand why the first option wasn't, well, let's try removing this, and so you can continue to keep your uterus. And that was even starting with a female doctor. So I was quite surprised that came from a female doctor. Then it was actually the male doctor who said, oh, no, it's okay. We can do laser treatment, and we can just laser that off, day surgery, and, everything should be fine, because then I then dealt with the imbalance of the hormones.
The thing is that we think if we go to a female doctor that we are somehow, she's on our side. It's not always the case. You have to find a good doctor regardless of the agenda.
Yeah.
One who's actually going to pay attention and listen to you. In my own case, I had heavy bleeding for many years, and there was no cysts, no polyps, no tumours, no fibroids, nothing. Perfectly healthy uterus, except she wanted to bleed all the time. And my doctors got frustrated with me because I did their different protocols and nothing was actually stopping the bleeding. And they were like, oh, well, we'll just do a hysterectomy. And it's like, why? It's a perfectly healthy uterus. Why do you know, no, I'm not taking it out. Oh, but it'll be much easier for you. No, it won't actually. I want to hang on to my uterus. That's kind of when I started working with Yanni Eggs and looking at the emotions behind what was actually going on for me. And I did a few other things. I stopped gluten. I stopped sugar for a while. I kind of slipped on that one. And I started drinking nettle tea infusions. So I started doing what I could to heal my body on all different layers of my being. And I'm still not through menopause, but I am not bleeding heavy. It went back to a manageable level. And I've still got my uterus. And I think how many women would have just gone, yes, you're right, take it out.
Yeah.
And then dealt with the emotional aftermath. Because if it's an emotional issue that's going on, and ladies, we all have emotional issues that we store in our womb and our genitals. It is one of the biggest places that we tuck everything away and store in our bodies. If we're doing that, if we can address the emotional issues, then chances are your polyps, your cysts, your fibroids may actually heal up. I can't guarantee that, but if you can address the underlying emotional baggage, chances are you can hang on to your uterus.
And it's so important. And it's important on a spiritual, emotional, it's also important on a physical level, because the uterus is there to produce certain hormones. You know, it's not something where you can just chop out and everything will be okay. It isn't. It's just like you can't. You know, it's any more than you could chop an arm off and you're going to live the same life that you had beforehand. It's not going to be the same. You will change, and I think this predisposition to just chopping out the problem when we haven't truly addressed the problem on all levels. I think there's this big issue with that. Now, I want to talk to you about Yanni Eggs, because I have been fascinated by Yanni Eggs for years, but I've never got one. And I'm getting close, because as I said before, that I've done the pelvic floor physio, but I'm actually noticing now, because one of the things that does happen as you do age is connective tissue gets a little bit looser, which is why we need to do different type of exercises. So I'm actually noticing that slight incontinence that happens, particularly for me. A lot of it's mind stuff, because I know that as soon as I get home, I can go all day long and not need to go to the toilet. As soon as I get home, as soon as I get to that back gate, I need to go. And don't let anyone stand between me and I've got to get upstairs to the toilet. Because, and I'm there all the way going, hold on. And then when I get there, it's like, hold on, lift, and hopefully I make it. And that's not unusual. I'm not unusual. I know that. And I need to actually get back into, and I'm thinking maybe using the Yanni Eggs will actually help me be able to get more control. But talk to me more about what Yanni Eggs do on all levels.
Okay, so let's just start with the basic level of what Yanni Eggs do for your pelvic floor. Think of it as weightlifting for your vagina, okay? So Kegels, okay, so I'm showing you here, but the other ladies can't see this. If you start doing bicep curls, you can do bicep curls till cows come home, and you're not going to tighten up your bicep as quickly as you would as if you put a dumbbell in your arm. Okay. As soon as you put a dumbbell in there, you've got resistance, you've got something for the muscle to work against, you've got something for the muscle to lift and start building up strength. It's the same with the Yanni Egg. You can Kegel till the cows come home. I don't recommend that. But as soon as you put the egg in there, you've got weight for it to lift against, okay? So it's a simple process of you're now lifting, and I actually weighed it because one woman asked me how much does a medium-sized egg weigh, and it's between 50 and 53 grams. Once it's in there, you don't actually feel it, but you may feel, it's like putting a tampon in. You don't really notice that the tampon's there, but you kind of get a sense of it, if you know what I mean. So it's not like, oh my God, that's a heavy weight inside of me. But your muscles can feel it when you're lifting. So when you start with doing the Kegels, it's a good idea, or the Yanni Egg exercises, it's a good idea to do it 3 times a week for between 15 and 20 minutes. I kind of reckon you start off at about 5 and build up to 20 minutes. And that's going to be enough to keep you in a continent state. The other side of Yanni Eggs is they are an amazing personal development tool, because the most powerful acupressure points that you have in your body are in your vagina. You've got the acupressure point for your heart, your lungs, your liver, your kidneys, your spleen, all in your vagina. So as the Yanni Egg moves around with you doing your exercise, it's rubbing on those acupressure points. Now, one of the eggs, then of course there's the actual properties of the different crystals. So I start women on the rose quartz, because rose quartz is about self-love and acceptance, and a lot of us do not love and accept ourselves. Then if you have any kind of sexual trauma, the next egg to get is an obsidian egg. Now, we're probably all very aware with the Me Too campaign and the Harvey Weinstein debacle that's going on about sexual harassment and sexual aggression towards women. I thought, when I got because I test all the eggs on myself before I sell them to people, because I want to know what kind of things they're going to do, what the different properties are going to do for the woman. So I thought, I will try the obsidian egg. I've never had any sexual harassment. I've never had any sexual trauma. I'll be fine. Only to use the egg and get taken back to when I was 15 and was staying the night at my girlfriend's place, and in the morning her brother and his friend came into the bedroom, and the brother hopped into bed with me, and the friend hopped into her bed, and the brother started molesting my body basically, and I froze. And what I want women to think about is, when we talk about fight, flight and freeze, the part of us that freezes and clenches up and tightens is our pelvic floor. So before I was saying about how we need to soften and open and trust what's coming towards us, too many times we have clenched our pelvic floor because we haven't felt safe. It's not necessarily that in a sexual context where somebody is attacking or molesting you. It's just those times when you have felt not safe or insecure as a woman. You've been you've been walking down the street at night, and suddenly you hear footsteps behind you, and you kind of go, oh my God, are there people around? Am I going to be safe here? We clench, and we're clenching our pelvic floor. And we need to learn to soften and relax that pelvic floor. It's not that women need to be tight. We're already tight. Our pelvic floor muscles are already tight and stressed and carrying emotional baggage from years gone by. We need to learn to soften and relax. And that's the other thing that the Yanni Egg exercises do, is we teach you how to hold the egg, but also to soften the muscles and feel what that softening feels like, so that you know that you can soften and relax. So yeah, it's many different components to using the egg. Like I said, that traumatic experience from when I was 15 has been cleared and released just by using the egg. And I would never have known it was there, because I never thought of it from when I was 15 to
That's
here I
right.
am at 55. I'd never even given it any thought, and it kind of was a bit of a shock to the system to be taken back to that and go, oh my God, yeah, that's right, I remember that. I
Yeah,
remember
and
what
there's
that
so
felt like.
many women that have been in that situation, and it was just, oh, that's just what happens.
Yeah,
And we just let it go, but it's still sitting in there somewhere.
yeah,
It's sitting there, yeah. And then when we bring it up to release it,
yeah, and that's why I sell the Yanni eggs as a coaching package. Sure, you can go and buy your eggs, just anywhere. You can buy an egg on its own. But what I find happens is women buy the egg, they get all excited about the egg, then they don't know what to do with the egg, so they just put it in their bedside drawer and never use it, or they start using it and emotions come up and they don't know what to do with that or how to process that, so they put it in the drawer and they don't use it again. And the thing is that it's, I'm here as a coach to help you work through that. I'm here to actually not just the basics of what you do once you've got your egg.
Yeah, not just the exercise side of stuff. Yeah.
It's not the exercise side of stuff. It's actually what is coming up for you. What emotions are you needing to deal with? I would love to delve into that, being able to hold on all day, and then when you're home, you have that rush to go to the toilet. I'd love to know what's going on. That's actually,
we need to talk more, I think.
Yeah, we definitely do. And it's those kinds of things, and that tension that you're holding when you're rushing to go to the toilet, that hold, that's a tension that you're carrying in your pelvic floor muscles constantly. Okay? So that needs to actually be addressed and let go of, and so that you can relax and know that you can be continent all the time. And it's, the sad thing is that incontinence has become acceptable.
Yeah, because before I jumped on this call, I just happened to be looking at Facebook, and I would have seen at least 3 ads for underwear for incontinence. And now it's like, okay, well, and look, it's good that that's there and you can got something that you can wear, but it's like, okay, why do we have incontinence? What is it? Why is it becoming obviously really widespread? Because there's businesses that are making a lot of money out of this. So, and when you look at it, because sometimes I go in and I read the comments on some of these ads, and everyone's going, oh yeah, I've got LBL, like LBL is like the big thing at the moment. It's like, well, what is it? What's going on for women? They're like, has this always been going on for women, or is this something now that we as women are experiencing more of? Are we just being more open about it? It's like, there's got to be something that's going on. And it was interesting what you said about the that it's quite often that women on the right wall is often stronger than the left wall, because so many women are living a masculine life. We're in corporate, we're in careers, we're running business. Everything is boom, 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 all masculine, and we've lost our feminine.
And it's also, we have been told that women have to give. Women give all the time, and so we give and give and give and give. We're actually, so going back to my heavy bleeding, that is a case of a lack of boundaries. It's a case of, where are you giving away your life force? You're giving your life force away for no reward, no recompense, no acknowledgement of what you're actually giving or producing. So there's that side of things. I think that light bladder leakage, LBL, is becoming more prevalent now. Because women are talking about it more. It is kind of becoming more socially acceptable to say, I have bladder issues. But the underlying thing is that we have no firm foundation on which to stand. We have no sense of safety and security in this world as a woman. And as I said with the Me Too and the Harvey Weinstein, it's really coming to the force that women are going, hang on a minute, this is not okay. We've been speaking up for years and nobody has been listening. and we're not going to take it anymore. So we're kind of reclaiming that space, and in reclaiming that, we are building a firmer foundation for our daughters and our granddaughters, but we need to address our own foundation and our own sense of security, and move from that space. And part of that is being able to claim our sexual organs for ourselves, being able to claim our sexual pleasure for ourselves. It's all of those kinds of things that are strengthening our resolve, I think, as women, and how we show up in the world.
We could sit here and talk for hours.
I really could.
But I am going to get you back again, and I've got a few ideas of running in my head. But just want to, and I don't know if you saw within the Maga Woman group, just before this interview, I went live with our Oracle reading. And the Oracle card, I'll just see if I've still got it here, was risk versus safety, which I don't know if you can see that.
Oh, lovely. Yep.
But it was all about being open to receiving.
Yep.
That we're forever giving, but
yes,
we need to be open to receiving and to be safe, to feel safe in receiving.
Yeah.
And that was the Oracle reading that I did just before beautiful. I came on this call with you. So it's the way that it's all just kind of come all the way around, because that's what you're basically saying is women need to be open to receiving, even simple compliments. And that's what I spoke about this morning. You know, if someone says, "Oh, I love that top on you," just simply say thank you, not, "Oh, you mean this old thing?" You know, being open to receiving. And then when we start with the little things of just saying thank you, I received that then we become open to receiving bigger and bigger things. And we feel safe receiving, because at the moment, many women don't feel safe receiving for whatever reason, because we've received and it's been taken off us, or whatever, we felt we're not good enough. So I love I'm, as I said, I could talk to you for hours, and I am going to talk to you more once we finish this recording, because that's the biggest message that you're saying, really. It's like, be open. When we open ourselves to receiving, we open ourselves to love, then the issues that we're holding within the womb area, within our pelvic floor, we actually will start to heal them.
Yes. Yep.
And it simply starts with saying thank you when someone gives you a compliment. That's as simple as it needs to be, just to start there.
That's one of those things, like you said, it's, oh, this old thing, or I got it, I got it for $5 from the op shop, it's just dismissing it straight away out of hand. Or when your girlfriend offers to pay for for coffee for you, oh no, it's my turn, and you have this constant battle at the till of who's going to pay, because neither of you wants to just be receiving, to just receive that. And we don't know how to. We haven't been taught how to. We've been taught that we have to give. And that's what depletes and exhausts women, because we need to actually receive. We need to have a place and a time of stillness where we can just go within. And that's where I love the idea of the red tents back in the day. They would have, when women had their periods, they would go off, not as a banishment, not as anything other than a space for them to be and turn inward, because that's what our bleeding time is a space to turn inward. The beauty of menopause is that now we have all the space to turn inward and then offer out our gifts of all that we have learned. It's not, I've been called a wise woman this week by a young 23-year-old client who's got some issues, and that felt really lovely, that she actually could see the value in the knowledge that I've got. And I think that is becoming more prevalent too, as the young ones are actually finally realizing that because you're 50, 60, 70, you've actually got a lot of life experience
Yeah,
that
and the
they
wisdom.
want. Yeah. And so they're actually finally starting to come and appreciate that, which is really awesome.
Yeah, and that's the key. That's what the key of the Maga Woman project is.
Yes.
Because I think that there's many women who get to this mid stage of life who are not trusting of their own wisdom. They're not, and that's what I want the Maga Woman project to do, is to allow women to really trust that they actually do have a wisdom and that they've got a voice, and that they can, they're able to speak their truth, because for many years, many of them haven't.
Yes.
And this is why we have all these issues going on physically and emotionally. So that's the main underlying thing about the Maga project, is to give women their voice, and for society to see that the wisdom lies within this group of women. When we look at some of the strongest women in our society, we look at the people like the Oprahs, we look at, our politicians, our Julie Bishop, Julia Gillard, all of those people, they're all Maga women.
Yes.
They're all Maga women. And whether or not you believe in what they say, their politics, it doesn't really matter. They're speaking their truth, and they're standing up, and they're sharing their wisdom for what they know. And that's what I really believe, that the world will be saved by Maga women, that we will change the world when we're ready to stand up and speak, but we need to actually be comfortable in speaking our truth, and which means we've got a lot of hurt to heal. There's a lot of healing that needs to go on, because for many years we haven't been able to speak. So I've actually loved speaking to you today, and as I said, we're going to speak a lot more.
Goody.
So I want to thank you. Now, where can people, just before we go, obviously, as I said, you've written an article for the February issue, and I've just asked you to do one for the March one as well. But where can people find you? Where can they find out more about what you do, and Yanni Eggs, and how can they work with you if they're ready to actually heal whatever's going on within that womb space?
So thank you very much for having me here. It's been absolutely delightful, and I will write as many articles for your magazine as you want me to, because I think I've got a lot to say about women's healing. It's a powerful thing. When we become fully into our power as women, the world is definitely going to change. It is going to wake up and take notice. And I'm not talking about moving from a patriarchy to a matriarchy. We're going to be finally equals. So you can find me on Facebook, Caitlin Grace for Wellbeing, I think it is. You'll find me. It's Caitlin Grace, Yanni Egg and Self-Love Coach. You can also find me at CaitlinGraceAuthor.com.
So can you spell Caitlin for people too, just so that they get that right?
It's CAITLIN, GraceAuthor.com. It's not Caitlin with a Y, and it's not with a K. It's the old traditional Irish spelling. And by the way, I did name myself. That was a brilliant reclamation of who I am. CaitlinGraceAuthor.com. I'm on Instagram. I've just started Pinterest today, so that'll be interesting. And I'm also on LinkedIn if anybody wants to find me there. You can find me, my Yanni Egg packages are on there, and I'm looking at putting together a 6-week coaching package to help women if they've just been diagnosed with breast cancer and they want to, or they've just had breast cancer operations and they want to feel feminine again, or they've just had a hysterectomy and they don't know what to do with all the emotions that they've got about how that all came about. It's about reclaiming our femininity. So I'll be putting that up on the website later this week.
Okay, well, I'll share that as well through the Maga Woman community for you.
Yeah, it's we have so much healing that we need to do. We talk about that the stomach being the second brain. I talk about the womb being our second heart. It stores a lot of those same emotions and traumas. And once we can heal that, we'll just be amazing, brilliant, radiant woman.
totally there with you. I totally get it, and I totally agree with you. So I want to thank you for joining us today. It's been a fantastic conversation. I want to thank all of our viewers for, I reckon everyone got something out of this, even if it was just one tiny thing. So because you can see the love in what you do. You can see the passion in what you do, and it just comes through. I mean, we're on video, but I can feel your energy from here, and it's like, when you're speaking to people who are so passionate and have got that connection, it's just, and that's what women do. I think women just do that. So we just do it naturally when we allow ourselves to do that. So I really want to thank you for being part of this. I want to thank all of our viewers for watching. And until the next episode, from my heart to yours, infinite love and gratitude. Bye for now.